Oh, it looks like the Secret Wine Society. Robert and Don back from lovely Oakland, Oregon. And they come bearing Brunello. And not only that, but potential stocking stuffers. So you get up on Christmas morning and your stocking is stuffed with a bottle of wine. Ensuring day drinking on Christmas morn. Anyway, welcome back to the show, gang.
Yeah, thanks for having us back.
Great to see you guys.
And we brought the thunder today.
No kidding. This stuff is really tasty. Before we get into the wines that you bought, or brought, and bought, for folks that don't know, Secret Wine Society, located down in Oakland, Oregon, which is down in Douglas County, about an hour away from Eugene, or less, depending on your speed. And for folks that want to find it, what is the exit?
So it's exit 140, and it's about 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're literally 1.5 minutes off of that exit.
All right.
You just can't see the town of Oakland from the highway, which is why people zip right by it. But getting off that exit, it's right there.
Okay, and the Secret Wine Society is in one of the great, cool, historic buildings there in Oakland. It's a great little community if you've never been there. But you have one of the largest wine libraries in Oregon with wines from just about everywhere on the planet, including the Canary Islands. I always bring that
Well,
up.
we're going to get back to those at some point.
Huh?
We'll get back to the Canary Islands very soon.
Okay, and it's crazy the way that they grow grapes there. But that said, that sake, got some great food items there as well. You brought in some of the killer cheese again this morning.
The cheese is delicious.
Yeah.
Lord.
So you can go in there and just get a glass of wine and enjoy, or browse, do whatever you want.
Yeah, we also have, I don't know if you remember the $6,000 Italian prosciutto slicer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
have to, here's the thing. If you buy pre-cut prosciutto, it loses its flavor in a few days.
Mhm.
So you have to slice it very thin, and they don't like you using electric slicers because it generates too much heat. So they're expensive. Now, they're beautiful machines, but you've seen it. If you don't remember, I'll post a picture.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would love it if we could use that machine to pay it off.
Okay, get some prosciutto. All right, so what did you bring us today? And this first one is
Okay, so we have
really delicious.
An Italian wine tasting coming up on Sunday at 5 o'clock. It's a paid tasting because they're bringing down an Italian wine expert, and one of our distributors is going to do a whole talk. And there might be a few spots left, so if you're interested, these wines are very good. So they're focusing on Italy. And the first one we have here is a Brunello di Montalcino. So Brunello is actually a clone, or it's a type of Sangiovese. So this is 100% Sangiovese Grosso. This is grown in the southern part of Tuscany, where it's warmer. And these wines are very famous. You get power and elegance in one glass.
It is, and when I say this, I don't mean it in a strident way. It's loud with flavor.
Yeah,
I mean, and in a way, even when you're sniffing it before you drink it, it's just like, okay, we got ourselves a glass of wine here, kids.
So what we're drinking is the 2017, and that's important. They actually, by law, have to age these for 4 years.
Huh.
And
Okay.
part of that has to be in barrels, and part of that is going to be in bottle, and they can mix it up, but there's minimums for each of those. They're using a blend of French oak and Slavonian oak, and my wife will tell you about Slavonian oak.
Oh yeah, the Slavonian oak. It's
So it's not Slovenia.
yeah.
It's actually a small area in Croatia. So they are
Yeah, so
totally different area.
Slavonia and Slovenia. Slovenia is a country. Slavonia is an area within Croatia.
Okay. And what makes Croatian oak
So this type is like a smaller, it's more dense, and you can make bigger barrel.
It's
the
fine grained.
Yeah.
And they, like she's saying, they tend to make larger barrels. And so when you have a larger barrel, you've got more liquid per amount of oak. So there's less oak influence. So you're not, like, if I have a smaller barrel and I'm using French oak, which is going to give it more flavor, it can overwhelm the wine. So it's going to be in there 4 years. If you have tiny barrels, you're going to get way too much oak influence.
So it's more neutral.
Right, so it's going to be more neutral than French. And American oak is even cheaper, but that gives it more like coconut vanilla, and that doesn't work for a lot of wines. That's why they say the
American oak.
Well, you know, it works for like the California style of Chardonnay. It's going to be buttery, but it has to have the right fruit for that to support it.
This, I mean, the first hint when I, took a whiff of it was, oh, I smell plums in there. And then tasting it, it almost has a tiny bit of kind of a port quality to it taste, but then you get the plum and you get some
dark
like
cherries.
And you get some nice like fragrant wood too.
That must be what I'm thinking is the kind of the tobacco hint I'm getting from it.
That's what's coming from the Slovenian barrels, and the French barrels can give it a little bit of that as well. But it's all about getting the right balance between those two.
That's really super. What suggestions for pairing that?
I say like you could go with meat dishes and game especially. I mean, it's got a pretty wide range. It's not as massive like a cab, so not necessarily steak.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, any like medium plus.
You guys have brought in a lot of reds in. This one might be my favorite.
Well, it's one of the most expensive we've brought in so far. So it doesn't surprise me.
See, you got spendy.
I'm a spendy guy, I guess.
Yeah, you've got the spendy taste.
So
but this is really good. The color is kind of interesting on it too. I mean, the color is interesting.
It's not super
different.
Dark. You've got the aging has taken some of the color away. You got 4 years, but it shouldn't be a massive wine as far as like the tannins should be smoother. It's going to have higher acid, but it's all about the balance. Now, this is, just to be clear, it's a 2017 Patrizia Cencioni is the winery.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I lost my cheese.
Oh, you lost your cheese.
How does this
Isn't
go
that a
with
kid's book?
Do we have a kid's book
Called I Lost My Cheese?
I lost my cheese.
The cheese is so good.
You see how smooth those tannins are? That wine is fantastic. Now, they also make a Reserva version of Brunellos, but they have to be aged even longer, and so they're going to be more expensive, and usually they use their best grapes, and they're going to be more complex, but then your price point goes up. You're not going to find a good Brunello at $20 or $30. It just doesn't happen. Because, I mean, if you're keeping something in barrel for 4 years, you've got to pay for that, right? But they're beautiful and they're world famous. If you see them on a wine list, it's going to be outrageously expensive, so buy it from me instead.
From the Secret Wine Society.
How much, if you were going to get, okay, so you go into your fancy restaurant, you see this on there, you order a glass. What's it going to cost you for a glass of this?
That bottle will probably be $200, so $50 a glass maybe.
Whoa.
And you've got it for $80.
It's probably right around there, yes. I would say this, for a very good Brunello, 80's probably where you start to get into a real serious one. I've seen them at the $50 range, but they just don't have the elegance that this has.
Now
it can go up from there.
This is pretty great. Let's take a short break, and that way we can come back and focus on a couple of other wines that he brought in from the Secret Wine Society.